everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. My name's Dan Corcoran. I put this little event together. So basically, I don't really prepare what I'm going to say. I kind of like it to be authentic. I just want everyone to kind of share their feelings. I mean, this is really crazy what's going on. So, I mean, men in white and black robes, what is it about them? I don't know. I'm profoundly saddened by this. This is horrible, but obviously I'm a man, so, I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time talking. I just want to say the reason why I do this is because I care. I care about justice, social justice. I care about progressive issues, and I just think that what's left. It's us speaking out. We really need to have more rallies like this. We need to get out there. We need to speak. We need to tell people that we're pissed off and we're not going to put up with this shit. Okay? if this isn't an assault on democracy, I don't know what is. Okay? So, I really do care. And that's why I'm doing this. Okay? So with that, I'd like to have a little discussion. I'd like to go around, have people share their feelings on this, their thoughts. And with that, I'd like to pass it over to co-host Jane Dunbar.
Hi, my name is Jane Dunbar, and in 1998, I was married for 8 years into infertility treatment, and I got pregnant, but it was an ectopic pregnancy. I went to the hospital not knowing what was wrong, and my blood pressure was 50/60. I was about to die, and if that had been today, or if Mastriano wins, I would have had to make a choice whether to go to jail or die. Don't worry about my other children. Don't worry about my husband. I'm going to go to jail or I'm going to die. And that would have been my husband's choice at that point because I was unconscious. Imagine you making that choice with 2 small children at home, a young husband, and a young wife about to die because she was trying to have a child and had an ectopic. 1 in 50 pregnancies in this country end up as an ectopic pregnancy. And it's no fun. It's no fun. So I can only beg everyone out there, please do not vote this Mastriano monster in. Because if that happens, it's not about abortion. It's about women's health. He doesn't want us to have it. He wants to send us back to the 1500s. And I pray to God my nieces, my daughters, my cousins, every woman in my life doesn't have to make that decision, or their husbands, because it was awful. It was bad enough that I lost my job and I was out of work and all the things that go with that. But to have to make a decision between jail or death, there's no decision. There's no good way to go with that. And that's what it's going to be. That is what it's going to be. He said it. He's made it known. And that's just the way it's going to be in Pennsylvania. Fortunately, New Jersey's going to be the way it is. Delaware will be the way it is. But what about the people that can't get there? What about the doctors that save people's lives like mine? They would have let me die on the table rather than risk going to jail. And that's what it's going to come down to. So please, when you go into that ballot box or your mail-in, please think about me. Think about people like me and people like my husband who would have had to make that decision. I survived it, obviously, and I did get pregnant, so I have a 17-year-old son now. But it was a long haul. And being a woman who couldn't have children my whole life, I have been pro-choice. I think it's important for every woman to make the decision for themselves. It's between themselves, their higher power, and their doctor. No one else has a say. That's it. Thanks.
I'm a teacher, or was, and I like to be closer to my students, so I'm going to pretend like you're my students. I made notes on my lesson plan. I brought the Constitution, which is always in my purse. I read it a lot. This is what I wrote today. Time to sit down and listen at times, time to stand up and shout. This is a stand up and shout time. Why I rally and vote. For the kids, for the rule of law, for equality, for the Constitution, and things like Article 4, Section 2, Amendment 1, 14, 15, and 19, for the right to privacy, for the separation of church and state, for due process, for fairness, for this representative republic, for my granddaughter, for all the students that I taught and their children. Congress has changed size of Supreme Court 7 times. States' rights was used to justify slavery, was used to justify segregation. So when the court decided that it should be thrown back to the states, that's where my head went, right away. We're going to throw it back to the states that approved of and wanted slavery and wanted segregation. I have an issue with that. There are currently at least, and I've had this 2 different numbers thrown at me in my research, 400,000 plus kids right now in foster care. 117,000 are waiting to be adopted. I was reading about what to do about a rogue Supreme Court, and there's ways to impeach and remove justices. There's ways to increase or decrease the size of the court. Roosevelt threatened to expand the court so that he could have the New Deal and Social Security.
He's trying to amp the crowd.
The court stopped being obstructionist, and then, thank you! We have a cheerleader here. Yay! Let's eat snacks and cuddle. I love that. And
Nice. That's a great sign.
those were my notes. I suggest y'all get a little pocket-sized Constitution, carry it around in your pocket, and this one's well worn because I read it a lot, and keep deciding what's being ruined and what isn't. It doesn't take me too far in the Constitution to find what's being ruined, so that's why it looks like this. But I wanted to make sure I got up close and personal with y'all. Thank you for being my students for whatever long I just spoke. Old teacher here, don't give us a microphone.
Can I say something about adoption? At the same time that I had this topic, we were looking into an adoption, and we went to an adoption agency in Ardmore, and it was enough just to go to one. When I went in, we did all the paperwork, they did the home study, they did everything they needed to do. And we sat in their office, and this woman looked at me and she said, now again, 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, if you want a black baby, an African American baby, they're $5,000. If you want a biracial baby, that baby's going to cost you $10,000. And if you want a white infant, it's going to cost you $25,000 plus a 5-year waiting list. This is what they told me. This was a private adoption through an agency. I was appalled. I don't think I heard the rest of it. I had to leave. My husband stayed there and listened to the whole spiel because he's, pleasant and I'm not. So I just got up and left, but he told me what they were saying and I was appalled. So then I came here. I came to Media, and we were foster parents. We had a lovely little boy, and we had him for more than a year. We went to court. We were standing at the judge's bench, and this woman comes out of nowhere, is a paternal grandmother, hasn't seen the child her whole life, and they awarded custody to this woman. We never saw this child again. So let me tell you that there's so many babies to be adopted. They're not babies, and nobody wants to adopt these older children. I myself was in foster care as a young teenager. Fortunately, I had a family member who stood up, and I went to them because nobody would have adopted me. I was a crazy kid, and a lot of these children are damaged. Think about where they're coming from. If you want to ban abortion, go for it, but I want to see you sign up in Media.
Step up, yep.
Step up and adopt some of these kids that need homes.
Bingo.
Because they're living in hell right now, and they need you. So if you're going to make these babies be born, that's fine. You do that. But I want to see a line at the front door. And if I don't, you need to shut up.
Oh, I forgot to say, I'm sorry. The reason I came is for all those reasons I gave. Also, my mother had an ectopic pregnancy before I was born. She, and we're talking about 1943, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth. She had that baby, or was pregnant, and 4 or 5 blood transfusions later, according to my dad, they finally were able to save her life. And I love it. And if that would happen today in about 26 states, they ain't doing for you what they need to do. It's going to be, oh well, there's a fetus there, and we can just reimplant it, which is like wonderful idea, but it don't work like that. And I guess the denial of science and the denial of history in the last 5-6 years has really caused an issue for a lot of people in the country who don't know how stuff works, and have decided that it'll work their way, but not for real. So that's the reason why. That was another impetus for me to say something, because Mom was told then, after, recuperate now, lady, but you better in a few years decide to do this again. But if you do, you have a higher chance of having another
one.
Ectopic
And you lose
pregnancy.
a tube.
She took the chance. I wasn't ectopic. I was underweight and tiny and needed a lot of work, but I lived. So, but that's what I thought about when I saw some of these rulings, that women that this will happen to, it will be just, oh well. And the idea that it's an oh well sort of bothers me, because that means, like Alito said, women aren't in the Constitution. Okie dokie, there's a lot of stuff that isn't in the Constitution, honey bun. That's just one of many. But we're more than 50% of the population. Wake up. And so that's part of, I'm sorry, I just needed to throw that in there.
So if anybody today were to become pregnant, and it was an unwanted pregnancy, and you were faced with this new law, you weren't allowed to get an abortion because it was against the law, how would that impact your life today?
I'd like to say, I have personal reasons why I'm really passionate about this issue. For one, I'm a black woman, and we already are ostracized and already are not listened to when it comes to our health care. So people think they're saving lives with this, but really they're going to be killing people. More people are going to die because, again, people are not going to stop getting abortions. It's just going to be less safe to get it done, which some people need to do. And I'm really passionate about it also because I'm a survivor of rape and incest, and to think that there's no exception. Like, if I had been faced when I was going through my trauma with having to have a baby by my perpetrator, I would not even be here. I would have checked out, and so my life would have been gone, and then I would not have the 2 beautiful lives that I have now by my choice. So I'm really passionate about this because it is doing detrimental harm. It's going to do detrimental harm to so many people. More people are going to die. And this affects everybody. And it's going to disproportionately, like everything, affect black women and black people and people of color. Right. And so I'm really, really passionate about it, and I get very emotional. So thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
Anybody else like to comment on that? Same situation?
I was just going to say, I thought about that, and I thought, what happens to these kids that this happens to, either incest or rape or both or whatever it is? Then they're forced to have this child, and look at this child. So how is this child going to be loved unless, I don't know, unless some miracle happens? How's this child gonna be loved? Plus it's coming in with the mother's trauma, right? I just can't imagine.
Oh, and let's cut some more mental health, because we're not going to need it or anything.
And also, yeah, exactly. the other thing is, and it's probably an old argument, but it really is a real argument. Whoever these people are, they don't care about the children. They just don't because they can. Why? What is that?
I refuse to say pro-life because it's not pro-life. It's pro-birth.
It's pro-birth. After
It's pro-birth.
there's nothing. All these states that have these trigger laws, they're the ones that have the least amount of support for women who have these children. They're cutting the welfare system. They're cutting the WIC system. They're
They don't
cutting
even think
everything.
we should be feeding children lunch in school.
It's ridiculous to me. Once the baby's born, they want nothing to do with it.
Abortion's not the reason that they haven't supported the social safety net. They've cut everything, and it's not because of abortion. They're not using that argument as like, oh, money has to go here and that's why we're cutting the social safety net. They've cut it for generations and they'll never fund it because they don't care.
The cruelty is the point.
They want to keep them in power, and if they provide those, they're going to allow people to climb out of situations that they're in. If
And
they
babies,
if they allow people to control when they have children, they're going to allow people to control their circumstances. So they don't want that because the people that would control their circumstances are the people that wouldn't support them. The powerful white men in power.
And I would just add one point, as atrocious and harmful and sad stories that we're just talking about, where rape is involved, where incest is involved, we cannot let that be the fallback position. We have to say everybody's right.
Yeah.
Everybody's right. As soon as they are born, has the right to make a decision on their health care. And what you're seeing in the society today is a broad swath of change. It goes from top to bottom. The Supreme Court is one arm of this. The Republican Congress is the second. And we have to look at everything they're doing. You can pray on a football field, as of this morning, but your rights as a woman
Christian parents. Right?
Only Christian prayer.
Okay, let's be clear.
I'm waiting for the Wiccans to show
He
up.
whips out a Quran, and they would not have that same.
Yes,
Let
exactly.
a Wicca woman start doing her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I agree. I think it's bodily autonomy. I mean, if you're not a person who has autonomy of yourself, then who are you? That's if you want to go back. Yeah.
You are a slave of the state, basically.
Why are these churches paying taxes?
We're broodmare.
You know, they want to basically write legislation. I mean, if they're going to be that active in our government, why are they paying taxes?
My thing is, don't push your beliefs on me. Like, I respect everyone's religion. I don't care what you believe in. Don't push it on me. I have my own beliefs. You're not going to change my mind, and I'm not going to change yours. So you do your thing, I'll do my thing, and everything will be all right. When you start messing with that, that's when I get pissed off. Because I have children, I raise them the way I choose to, not the way the state chose to. All right? My son is so livid right now, he's like militant. It's scary because he's 17. Like,
There's a viral video going around too, and I agree with, I can't remember who's the woman speaking, but I'll fight for you to have the right to believe what you want to believe and to practice.
That's the First Amendment. The First Amendment is you got to be able to tolerate the worst thing that you can possibly think of, because
that speech is protected just like yours is. So I hate people that do like KKK and things like that. But the fact is, they have just as much right to spew their garbage as I do mine, right?
Right to offend.
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, I don't have to listen to it. That's why there's a scroll.
And do you want to take a look at the countries where you don't have the right to say that and do that? And are any of those places somewhere you want to live? Because that's the direction that we're heading.
I am, though, amazed at the amount of hate groups that the Southern Leadership Conference, SPLC. Why am I saying it wrong?
Southern Poverty Law Center.
There it is. Kitty would kill me. Southern Poverty Law Center has been tracking,
Oh, I saw something about
and we're
that.
talking about 1,000. 1,000.
Homegrown terrorists.
And many of them are right here in Delaware County with me, which is annoying. And, you know, as long as they're not knocking on my door, burning across on my front lawn, hurting me,
They have the right.
you know, go ahead and do whatever you want to say. But don't bring it to me
Right.
and think that I'm going to go, oh, yay for you.
No. But I can walk away.
But I can walk away.
I can
As
walk
long as
away.
you're
That's
allowed
my
me
choice to walk away.
Absolutely.
I can do that, and I'll respect that.
And I would
It's just all
prefer.
hypocrisy coming back from, like, if you look at a country like we were founded on freedom and the right to be to be ourselves, to be our own country, to legislate for ourselves, to make our own choices, but it's to make the choices of a select few. And I recognize that I'm incredibly privileged saying that from where I am in all of this and just everything I've had. I had an ancestor who fought in the Revolutionary War, and so I kind of find it funny when I'll have like family be like, this isn't what it's supposed to be, and I'm like, well, they fought to get me here to where I can share my opinion and have the right to life, liberty, and happiness.
But how long is that going to last? That's the thing.
Empires fall every 250 years. We're almost there.
We're young. We're young when you compare us to Europe and Asia. We're a very young country, and if it's starting now, we're looking, I mean, it's not going a good way. It's not what it was founded on.
Well, first of all, we had no rights, by the way.
Yes.
Nothing when this country was founded.
Yeah, no, when the founding fathers found the country and wrote the Constitution,
Weren't even in.
have you looked at any of the photos of some of those founding fathers who 99% of them owned slaves?
Yep. And then wrote against it.
And then said, well, you
That's
know.
not really good.
I mean, I'm a woman who is single and owns my own home and has my own credit cards, and I'm pretty sure in my lifetime a woman needed their husband's permission to get a credit card.
My mother needed my father's permission to get a credit card.
When you're married to a man, you also need them to sign off. I have 2 children here. When I got divorced, I had to
Go to your ex-husband.
I had to go to my ex-husband now to be able to get my tubes tied.
Yep.
Serious? When
Yeah.
was this?
Delaware.
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
3 years ago? 2 years?
3.
There's a lot of stories going around about doctors refusing to try tubes of women.
Yes.
No, they asked for a man's
Man's
signature.
signature, which is crap.
And even if you're single,
And
they'll
he
just be
said
like,
no.
are you sure?
So I divorced him.
It's permanent. And it's like, yes, that's the appeal. That's the whole point. That's why I'm here. But yeah, I mean, as long as it's not literally endangering your health, you're allowed to make health decisions.
And
for
maybe
yourself.
you have a great
Also,
husband
your
who's
economic-
supportive and
Yes,
this isn't
health.
going to
Yeah.
affect you. But it should bother you that even though your husband is supportive of you, that you would even need their permission.
I don't need my husband's permission for anything.
Yeah. I also
And I've
think
been
it's,
married to his rear end for 37 years, and it's always been that way.
I always think it's a little backwards too. So like I know one of my coworkers has a really supportive boyfriend, and they were having conversations all over the weekend because they live in a state that is one of the trigger law states. And he said that honestly, because they don't want kids, or maybe even in the at all near future, like 15 years, he'd be willing to get a vasectomy, which I think is great that he's super supportive. But I also think that's shitty because that's also kind of a coerced medical procedure. Like that's the answer.
But it's also not an answer because I'm like, what if they go out and get assaulted?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like kind of frustrating because it's like it's great that he's willing to do that because he recognizes that she's in this unfair position. But it also sucks that like the response to a woman not being able to control her body is then also like someone making a decision not completely free of will because it is a little bit coerced by their affection and partnership. So it's just like that's not even.
I have a
Just give
40-year-old
everyone the
nephew
autonomy.
that did it, and he did it before all this happened. They didn't want children, and he did it because of the chemicals that are in the birth control. He just didn't feel that it was safe for her. Don't worry about them. You know, she had some side effects, and it was really hard for her to get the right. And it was just really. And they're married 10 years. They're good with their dogs. You know, but again, you're right. It is it's not a free choice for a man. It's doing it out of love for another woman, for the woman, which is great. But it's still she should be able to take care of her own body and make her own decisions. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you shouldn't even have to go to that level. Like, to even think, like, even for me, like, I have my husband had a vasectomy years ago. I have a copper IUD, and I'm like, well, are they going to make it illegal to have a copper IUD eventually? So it's like, well, I have one on the books. It's like how far in the Handmaid's Tale are we going to go into this? Like, are they going to try to take it away from you? Like
how are they going to force that surgery to have it come out? And how are they going to track pregnancies now?
Yeah.
Like, and are you going to have to prove that it was a natural miscarriage or?
The right to privacy has been obliterated.
I mean, like, how are they going to do
and that
this?
includes healthcare privacy.
I never
Take that for
tried
granted,
it.
but-
they want to have a second
It's
kid.
all stems from that.
Yeah.
The right to
and people
privacy.
now are afraid to even get pregnant of a child that they want because they're like, well, what if there's complications?
Exactly. Like, what if you lose it? What would you have to prove? How do you prove that? Because I had many miscarriages before.
Yeah.
I had my ectopic. I would have to prove that it was a natural miscarriage.
Yeah. I mean, even before this happened,
Stay
there
out
were
of my
women
way.
arrested in Texas for having a miscarriage. And they were jailed. They were thrown in jail.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Just listening to this conversation, it's just what's coming into my head.
Well, you
How
talk.
fucking dare you?
Right.
Tell me what I can do with my body. Being a man, I'm just thinking that, like, all these things.
Even my
you said,
husband, who is
that's
so
your freaking
conservative,
choice. It's
is
not
upset about this.
It's not men on the Supreme Court.
But it's power, and it's people in power, white men, white evangelical men in power who have this idea and they want to impose it on the majority. That's what it is. It's not
Like, how can you tell me?
because the evangelical church wasn't
what
promoting
she does with
pro-life
her body?
beliefs. They weren't promoting pro-life beliefs until segregation was removed. That's what it was. It all ties back to like the white, and I again recognize saying this as a white person, but like the
White privilege.
yeah, it
Comes
is.
down to white privilege.
Yeah. And it comes down to thinking that you're better because of it and that they want to do everything they can to keep the people in poverty, keep people out of power who tend to be largely minorities. And that's what the goal is. It's not because they truly think that God's going to send someone to hell because of it. That's
not
secondary
my
to
God.
them.
That's
Yeah.
the problem. The problem is, it's not my God that you're
Yeah.
like, I don't care what God thinks. All right? I don't care.
To understand the mind of these people. So, like, I was an evangelical, I was a Republican, and like worked very hard to escape out of all of that indoctrination for years.
That's like being deprogrammed.
It was, and to know, and like ever since I've been trying to like tell people, like, I don't think you understand who these people are. I very much understand who these people are. I understand their mindset, and just trying to explain to people like they're going to chip away at this for as long as it takes. And people, no, they're not. Even other Republicans who voted for Trump, oh no, they're not really going to overturn it. I'm like, he said women who have an abortion should be punished. He made Mike Pence his vice president, who was super evangelical. I'm like, this is what they want. That's who they're going to put on the court. That is their end goal. And to understand the mindset, they're like, well, it's not my religion or whatever. They don't care. They do not care. They are trying to save souls for Jesus. They're trying to convert all of you. They're trying to make all this into a Christian nation because it cannot be good until it is a fully Christian nation against your will.
Against your will.
Yeah.
Right.
So
They don't.
we're talking about what, Spanish?
So even if you were to die of an ectopic pregnancy, that's God's will. And if He wanted to save you, He would have. Like, that's how far. It's when I try to talk to people. I'm like, you don't. Even other Republicans, I'm like, you don't even know who those people are. You might as well not even be in the same political party. And I don't think they truly. Maybe now I think are just starting to wake up to like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. I'm like,
Pence already
Bitch,
called
I
for a
said.
national abortion ban. He
Oh,
already
yeah.
called 2 days.
I mean, if
already made a call and said,
if
when
they
we
get
win,
the House, it's
national
gonna
abortion ban.
happen.
Yeah.
He had to make sure that Mastriano does not win.
This is the
I
first
don't-
step
I
to a
don't-
national
I
abortion
will-
ban. This isn't
I'll pray.
up to the states. This is.
and I think just trying to like let people know.
I have to.
I think people are like, well, I think a lot of people are getting really exhausted, and I understand. I'm very upset with a lot of the Democrats. Do not get me wrong. I feel very betrayed
So do
on
I.
many levels. I feel very upset on many levels. I'm like, but to say that they're the same, I'm like,
No.
That's a
there was a
default
lot of
argument.
things
they're not the same. I'm
When they
let's talk
can't
about
argue.
boring
Yeah.
milk, Josh Shapiro. Very like moderate, okay, whatever. But then you have crazy pants,
Yeah.
nut job conspiracy theories, insurrectionists,
Right.
all the way to the
They're
far
not even
right,
close.
evangelical,
Yeah.
QAnon. I'm like, you're going white
That's when
nationalist
you hit,
all
like,
the way
barrel
over.
of being able to argue back. That's the default. It's like, well, they're all the same.
Yes.
That's, when there's nothing
like-
else to say,
Yeah.
that is the argument that they make.
Yes.
And
the
it's
thing is with Shapiro,
not.
he's not my favorite, and there's a long line of reasons. But
But yeah,
when push comes to shove, you know,
if I had to choose between.
yeah, between heaven and hell,
And that's what they're counting on, though, because like everything this weekend was like, you got to vote. I did that. I voted.
I
I
vote all the
canvassed.
time.
I text
I work
text bank. I talk to strangers
Yeah.
from the comfort of my home, and I hated every second of it.
I'm a
like,
millennial. I
I
do
don't
not
want to
like
talk to
doing
anyone.
and I love that these girls are so young and they're out here and they're doing it because our generation. I'm 57 years old. I didn't get into politics till I was 50 because it didn't affect me. You know, it really didn't. I lived my life and did my thing, and then I started seeing what was going on in this building. And I was like, oh, baby, something's got to be done. And I've been here with the prison situation, and I've been here now. I'm here with Dan all the time on Facebook trying to get people to. I brought registrations if somebody needs to register to vote. I mean, and I'm knocking door to door because I can't let this maniac, and that's truly what he is. He's a maniac. Take over this state because there's no more. I mean, because I don't want to move. And I will.
I'm going to change my car registration. I'm not going away. No.
I mean,
From New Jersey to PA, I can't do that again.
I want to add to what Jane's saying. Jane, Christine, and Matt, I'm sure you guys know what I say on Facebook. I'm tough on the Democrats.
You are.
I'm a Democrat. I'm very tough on the Democrats. You know what? They're going to get a pass tonight. I'm still going to be on them, but look, I didn't want to make this partisan, but I mean, come on.
When you push,
we all have got to vote for Democrats. You have to, okay? I mean,
you don't have to agree with everything.
No.
You're not.
And I'm still going to hold you guys accountable if you're going to be watching this video tomorrow. You know it's still coming, but we have to.
Democrats,
we absolutely cannot let the Republicans.
And I mean, like,
win
we
the
can
House.
also be aware of it. Like, I have to own, as a Democrat, Joe Biden. I don't like to own Joe Biden.
He wasn't my favorite.
I don't at all like to own him. I'd love to own Elizabeth Warren. That'd be great. Let's do that instead.
Yes, I like that.
But I have to own that because that's the party I'm part of, and I have to work within that to do what I can. And the same with like Republicans who are just like, oh well, small government or something, and it's like, but you have to own the worst parts because you're associated with it.
Well, it's small government for white, straight, Christian, able-bodied, neurotypical men, but it's big government for everybody else.
Because states can't decide concealed carry laws, but they can decide, my uterus is pretty concealed.
Anywhere you want to go. Anywhere you want to go with an Uzi.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do that next weekend. That's what I'm going to do.
Let's say, if we all started doing that, do you think that's still allowed?
Well, I mean, if we hit the store today, I'm pretty sure U-15s come tonight.
I think they should.
If January 6th, black people, they'd still be pulling bodies.
I think every black person in New York City should go out and buy a firearm and walk up and down the streets. I really do, because you're right. If they see that, that's going to scare the hell out of them.
Exactly. It should be overturned
in a minute.
If they're not dead first.
I was going to say.
I'm not saying use the firearm.
No, I'm saying
they'll kill them.
Yes.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There's an old saying that Democrats fall in love with their leaders and Republicans fall in line. At this point, I think the Democrats need to focus on loving.
We have to get tough
and try to stop loving.
Now you're getting me started.
These are not people on a pedestal.
We gotta stop. We gotta stop taking it.
And they're going to have stuff that we like that they do, and stuff that we don't like that they do, and that's the norm. But
the Republicans at this point have fallen in love with Trump.
I think
and
it's
everybody in line behind Trump is falling in line with Trump because you've seen the dozen or so that have left the Congress and have now, and some of them are now on CNN, MSNBC. You've seen those people. Those are the intelligentsia of the Republican Party. The majority of Republicans are leading the Republican majority at this point. So it's up to us to find out how we can do, and not only what we can do, but who else we can bring into the coalition to move forward. And that means telephone calls. And if you haven't called the senator, it's not too late. Pat Toomey is not going to pay attention. No. Doesn't matter, but make sure the board, they don't look at your stuff. They don't look at you individually, but they will count numbers. How many people can I come back to Delaware County and say I'm going to get a base of people I can, and how much opposition am I going to run into? They've got to write letters. I'm sorry?
We have to do what the Republicans did. They've spent years building their power. They've spent years building this. This is like 40, 50 years in the making. This isn't overnight.
Oh, for sure.
Yes, they are aware. They have been building their power from the ground up, and that's what the Democrats don't do. They don't listen, and they don't build. They have to organize the power.
Scare the shit out of people. They have nothing to offer anybody, but they scare the shit out of people of what the Democrats are going to do. And the Democrats do not do enough to overcome those fears. That is why that's why the Republican Party is still viable. What do they offer the people? Nothing. They scare you.
What they offer the people is the American dream. That's what it comes down to. Everybody wants to get the American dream.
I was just saying, they want to own the left.
Republicans tell them
That's their whole thing now. They
matter
offer
where
nothing
you're at,
materially.
They
never have.
No, it's never been about the people in the country.
No.
And that's why they vote against their best.
It's just to make you mad.
You know, that's
And they
it.
know what to
They want you to
say.
be scared.
And they don't have to show. When they were having a protest on Friday night, Fox News was showing an empty video from earlier in the day where like the walls, like the fences were up in front of the court, but no one was there. And they weren't showing the live stream. So they also don't tell the truth. Shocking. Sorry. Calm down. Yeah. But like it's things like that too, where it's like even if you have someone who is in, I guess, like not a terrible person, they're not getting the truth either, and they're willing to lie and they're willing to just feed to like the lowest common denominator. I'm not saying we should do that exactly, but we should follow their
going past that though.
Yeah.
A lot of people know that they're not giving the facts. They don't care. Facts don't matter anymore. That's the biggest
And they're like, oh, well, it really is politics. It's like, really? You have 2 daughters. My next door neighbor. I love her. What do you mean you're not into politics? You have 2 daughters. This is going to affect your kids.
I swipe past any guy on an app that has like apolitical. Good for you.
Yeah, so it's like that. I'm just like,
wonderful.
It's not even politics anymore though. It's everyday life.
And I'll sometimes I'll learn from like when I go back and
yeah. Oh, I'm not political. I'm not really into that. I'm like, okay, bye.
They should have a privileged option to select. Like,
You've been seeing like queer women say that. I'm like,
yeah.
The problem I found with the Democrats,
Really?
and again,
Must be
this
nice.
is like since 7 years now, since the whole Trump thing.
No background?
Yeah, they take it.
Oh, exactly.
You know, we just take it. We just sit down and go, yeah, well, we're not going to get into it. It's not. Guess what?
Be politically
I'm from
correct.
Philly. I'm
You
from
have to be
2nd Street.
nice.
We don't take it.
I'm from Philly too. That's right.
We're not from here, right? Right. We don't take it. This is a bunch of crap.
Democrats are
Like,
all
when I
child
talked to these
molesters.
people
No,
before
we're not.
this
Honey
council,
too nice.
they almost arrested me. They had the sheriff
We
walking
are.
up the aisle at a county council meeting because I asked a question and he didn't like my tone. And I told him, go for it. Go for it. I was like, really? I can't. That's why I'm here. I have a question. I own 2 properties in this county. I have a right to an answer. He didn't like that. That's when I got involved. And I worked my rear end off to get this county council in. And I love them a little bit. But again, I'm never going to be 100% happy, but I'm much happier than I was now. I am more happy now than I was previously. I see a lot of the cliques starting to break up.
Let me just add one more rule.
And I lived in a
I'm not gonna be nice to you. I'm not gonna like coddle you.
I just wanted to.
I'm not going to agree to disagree.
And
So if you
I
can't
am
agree to
a firm
disagree on human
believer
rights, like that's not an option.
silence helps the oppressor, not the victim, and that you're not neutral when you're silent.
Silence is complicit.
Silence.
We got to raise
Silence is compliance. There we go. We got it. We got that. Yeah.
I was just going to make one more thing. In order to kind of understand the depth of the situation, what we're really facing, I would recommend the 1619 Project by, don't know.
Both of us have forgotten the author's name.
That's a long read. You don't have to read it all, but if you select areas. And Isabel Wilkinson had written a book with the name CASTE, C-A-S-T-E, which lays out specifically how America is similar to India,
Right.
how America is similar to Nazi Germany, and how
God,
a little
I see
bit
that.
differs. But the comparison is there for us to see. It's again, it's a long read, probably over 300 pages. But if I was going to be teaching a sociology class, it would be mandatory because it's a seminal piece. So I really highly recommend
Did
both
you read
of those.
Mon Kemp? Because Trump took a page
I actually have read, but that was 40 years ago.
Yeah,
Yes.
but he took a page. Trump is doing everything.
Trump went to the
He
Jim
did.
Crow South
He's
to
doing
find out the
everything.
law.
He's
He
trying to
wanted to
discredit
pass. This is
the media. He's already tried to do that,
That's-
right? He's doing everything that Hitler did. If you follow
a big
history,
lie.
you're going to see everything that he's done so far. They did in Nazi Germany.
They did it in every kind of other country that had a dictatorship like that. Nothing is new about a country that does like genocide like that. Mussolini, Stalin,
But this is written word for word. Like I read that, and I was like, oh my God.
That's why they don't want people to know the history.
That's
That's why
right.
this whole CRT stuff.
Right.
They don't want
God
people to
forbid.
know because, God forbid, people are
God
like,
forbid
why?
my son knows the
No,
truth.
we don't need the history because we're not a cancel culture like you Dems are.
You woke people. Oh
You
my
woke.
God.
I mean, kids are old old enough to know that like a 13-year-old got pregnant by divine intervention, but they're not old enough or apparently can't think enough to understand that I personally am not responsible for slavery. Like, they can't think that way. I'm pretty sure kids can. So, like,
I knocked on doors for our school board last summer, and I had to have a lot of these conversations in Aston, which was really fun. But it's just so wild to me that these same people that were like, you're hurting my child, like their mental health by putting a mask on them during a pandemic, or you're hurting them by having them learn history, or have them like have an equal voice with a queer student, or a student with disabilities, or a student of color. Like, all these things were like putting such stress on their child. And like, the same child, 12 years old, could become pregnant through rape. And like, so they could handle carrying an incestuous rapist baby, but they can't wear a paper mask. Like, make it make sense. I just can't with these people.
Yeah. It's not logic. That's the thing.
No.
Is like we're approaching it kind of logically because, like, for me, it makes a lot of sense. Like, my family was all conservative. They raised us to care about people,
right?
And they also raised me to speak my mind and do anything I wanted to do. I could do anything I put my mind to, and then they're surprised when all of a sudden this is what I put my mind to. You told me to care about people, so I'm caring about people. You told me to help the community, so I helped the community. Like, it never occurred to them that it would go against, go that other way. And I think that that's like, because it's, for me, it's logical. Like, you care about people, and I'm an independent person. If I don't feel, my parents taught me, if I didn't feel comfortable in a situation, I could leave. I could do what I wanted. Like, I had control over my, body or whatever at the age of 12, 13. Even with like grandparents, if I was not having a good time, I could call and be like, hey, I want to come home. I don't like this.
They just want submission.
Yeah.
They don't want you to.
So it's like I could do that, and then I turn into, so like it's surprising. But they're just not logical about it.
Well, they want you to care about certain people.
Yeah.
That's the unsaid. See, and I grew up in a city where during the time of the race riots, and that was fueled for the same reason. They wanted, you didn't walk across a certain street where I grew up. It was an Irish neighborhood, then it was an Italian neighborhood, then it was African American, and you didn't cross that street. You would avoid and go around. And they made it that way. Rizzo made it that way. Green made it that way. They wanted people to be afraid of each other. And you're right. The reason they did that is because if we weren't and we got together like we are tonight, we may pose a problem for them and actually challenge their authority. They don't like that, and that's what they want to stop.
Building on that point, I'm going to make one last point, and that is that the reason why they're able to do this, and I'm not the first one to generate this idea, it's been a long time, and it's in the books I mentioned. The rich have always, whether it's slavery or Wall Street today, they have been happy to have the diversion so the people are looking at them. Because what did Trump give them? A tax break. Did he give us a tax break that is 1/4 of that proportionally? No. So they're more than happy to enforce general disruption as long as they can make their profit. And you take a look at what big oil is doing this week in terms of their profit, and they haven't cut back. And so that's what I'll leave you with. I wish all you ladies good luck, and you gentlemen for living with the ladies, good luck. So,
excuse me?
Pray for me.
You may want to change that up a
All
little.
right. I think I would be remiss if I did not mention Clarence Thomas. So this gentleman is a member of of the most oppressed group in the history of mankind. So now he wants to outlaw gay marriage.
Is he going to do biracial marriage?
What was it, 50 years ago, his marriage wouldn't have even been legal.
Right.
But even if he did, he'd find a way to make it so that it was like grandfathered in.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And also they're not having children. It's all about.
I mean, not for everybody else, just for him.
Yeah, she helped in our insurrection. But
She was.
But it's. They're gonna look at that too because that stems from it. And even if people are like, oh, he never witnessed his own marriage, they're beyond having kids.
Right.
He's powerful enough and has enough friends because he's their talking point. And they'd make it so it was grandfathered in or something. So they'd live in a state that you know, they conveniently moved to like a blue state or something. Yeah, so he would do it. It's not, you know, he's clearly someone who likes to work against his own interests. So
There's something wrong with that man. There was something wrong
I was going to say, just actually about what that gentleman was talking about, is like there's no class consciousness in this country. The rich have class consciousness. We do not. Because everybody here thinks that they're like a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. I think somebody said that a long time ago. And it's like, no chance, dude. You know? So it's like the sooner we get to that, I mean, the sooner things will probably get better. But
unfortunately, I think they like. It's so hard because I feel like I do talk to people across the aisle and we'll agree on so much. Because I think they're like, oh, but you're a reasonable feminist. I'm like, no, a lot of us you can have a conversation with. You're just told that you can't.
Yeah.
Like you're told that. And so I think if people really do have class solidarity and they realize, oh, it's really us versus them, the haves versus the have-nots, I think that would turn everything upside down. They absolutely cannot have that. So I have to keep pushing division on every single level, on any kind of like intersection or identity, and they'll just keep like, well, now it's CRT, well, now it's gay marriage, well, now it's women's rights. Like it's just pushing and pushing and pushing and keeping us distracted.
That led the Pride Parade over New York, because we all got to band together, because we are the disenfranchised now. Nobody believes it. The Republicans in my financial area, they don't believe that they're disenfranchised. But they're living the same way I am. You know, they're making the same money I am. They're having a hard time putting food on the table because prices are so high. We're all in the same boat. If they could just see that, we could come together on something. But it's like the movie Wag the Dog. Did anybody see that movie? It's like, don't look over there, look over here. This is what we're doing over here. Look what we're doing. And while they're doing some shady shit over there, everybody's worried about this. Notice COVID hasn't been talked about big time.
Yeah. And the Dems feed right into it too. Like they are like the easily distracted golden retriever.
Yeah, exactly.
They just feed right into it. So
that's why we got to get them back home. We got to get tougher.
It's also important to remember that this week they're going to have more hearings for January 6th, which I think is awesome. Yeah, tomorrow. They were like, you know, we're not going to break for the holiday.
No.
Guess what? Like, surprise. So make sure to tune into that, because I feel like a lot of this has been a distraction away from that.
They can, like, I guess, I mean, the DOJ can decide to do something, but
yes, but it's like at that point they're just spending all that time doing that. When you could
Because if it was me
I
or
don't
you,
know,
we'd be in jail.
going after management, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Putting pressure on those guys, anything.
I mean, the thing is, the pressure wouldn't even work because they know that they're not going to follow through on anything because
they're all talk.
Our wonderful speaker decided to read a poem. They did a great job.
By a guy who was part of the, there was a massacre in Palestine, the Suburb of Shatila, and that's a guy who was writing a poem about that. That's what the poem was about. And I was just like, you wrote a poem about like killing children and like women, like what the... But this is just kind of goes to show you, like, it's just the mentality is completely ruined. Like, it's just, there's no, you know what I mean?
The fact that no one there was even intelligent enough to go, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. Because they
don't have someone
who was not like
in their interface who's going to disagree with
many
them.
times, actually.
Not surprising.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
But, it's frustrating.
Thank you. They need you to lose, and they don't.
It's frustrating because, like, I have done all the work. I voted. I am happy to vote. I love voting and doing all of that work. But it's frustrating to feel like the second this happened, all those fundraising texts went out. And they're like, you got to do this. And I'm like, my rights are not up for fundraising. Like, you can't fundraise off my rights and my bodily autonomy, except you can, and they do, but nothing happens. And I don't give a cent to any of those because they're just stupid. All those like, we need $10 from people like you. I give to the funds in states, like abortion funds by the states, the networks that do that.
They pissed off a lot of people. I hope they heard from a lot of people how pissed off they were.
Yeah, I think it falls on deaf ears. Like, I have no love for the Democratic Party, but I'll have to. I'll do it.
Yeah, I think we're all in that same boat right now.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because it's like, you shouldn't be the lesser of two evils. You should be championing and listening to the people that you actually represent. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. People will be lost.
Right.
They'll stop voting. They're going to be apathetic because they don't see a result.
I got a lot of that feedback when I text banks. A lot of the feedback was people saying, what does it matter if I vote?
Yeah.
Like, why?
That's what we're getting to, which is unfortunately different.
Yeah.
And
that's another way to lose. You lose by not even showing up.
Right.
But you also lose by funding an anti-choice candidate.
What's my vote going to matter in public? And enough people say that, obviously, you see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, states were lost over amounts of people that didn't vote.
Yeah.
It was really stressful to be a PA voter. Watching the votes come down, literally like, oh god, this is so stressful. And then I would like gaslight myself. I'm like, I voted, right? Like I did that.
Philly had to save the country.
There was a lot of pressure. Watching Delco votes come in, and I'm like, I did okay, we're fine.
Democrats do not vote in primaries.
Yeah.
They just don't.
I really was like, did I drop my ballot in?
And I'm there every year or every election. And
elections.
Yeah, they don't do midterms either. We don't do primaries. We don't do midterms. We got to get people out. I work the polls every year. I say it. It's like 300 Republicans, and I'm in a small district where I work. So it's like 300 Republicans and like 30 Democrats. And the worst part is when they come in and I have to listen to it. Because I'm a poll worker, so I can't say anything, about it, or else I'm not a poll worker anymore. So I just have this.
Poll worker who complimented my shirt a different one I was wearing.
Well, when I'm outside, I can say anything I want, but when I'm sitting at that table, I can't. And it's really disheartening that we don't vote during those times because they're the important times to vote.
We have to. The midterms. I mean,
The midterms. I mean, this is going to affect us
We
personally.
can't lose the House.
Right.
Yeah, because at the primaries, like if you're unhappy with, Patoonie,
Like, look how long
what got
he
him
was
in?
in.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah, like you have to do that. You can't be mad after the fact. Like you have to actually look at
what I tell
who
people.
everyone is on the ballot.
And then
If
you
you don't
go
vote,
to the
don't vote.
election and you don't like your option, but it's like if you had gone to the primary, you had 10 other people you could have written somebody in.
We still have to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
We can't have them take our vote for granted because they gained a lot of voters over the last couple of days. So vote for them, but make sure they do their job. That's my biggest thing.
I
Accountability.
have performance reviews. I have to meet metrics.
Exactly.
If I suddenly decide to stop doing Facebook ads, I'll probably get fired because that's my job.
Well, we have some big ones coming up. We have Jen O'Mara, who has to be voted back in.
Yeah.
She's
She will.
amazing.
She's great.
She's in Springfield. We have
But the person running against her, she's, I mean, I'm in Springfield School District. And
Okay.
it's like a Mastriano.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
so like Jen
There's
has
quite
to
a
win.
few going on that we have to look at for our state reps. People don't look at those things. And the judges. I don't know if anybody saw the ballot for the judges the last election, the way the wording was. Those guys have been sitting on this bench in this building for 20 years now. Some of them 30. They're the same judges and they were all appointed by a Republican governor. The justice system in Delaware County is a joke.
Oh, yes,
Well, I
it
even
is.
message because I was going around because a couple of the local Democrat parties were like, "This is who we're recommending. This is how we're recommending you vote." But the media Democrats differed, and I messaged them directly. Not that I live in media, but I messaged them, and I was like, they were having you vote for all these Republican judges, and I was just like, and I asked some people, no, like because they're a little bit more conservative here, even though they are Democrats, and I was just like,
But the wording was, would you support?
right,
Would you support another term for these
Yes.
judges? Nobody knows who these people are unless you're involved in it.
and it didn't have their party
Didn't have a
on
party
there.
affiliate. Well, they're supposed to be nonpartisan because they're judges. Bullshit.
But people are people.
I literally just look up everyone. Like, who is this?
Yeah, we had to go person by person.
You'd be surprised how many people walk into the voting booth and go, "Oh, look, there's an Italian name. I'm going to vote for him."
Of course.
Or that's an Irish name. Oh, there's a woman. I'm going to vote for her.
Showed up, right?
I'm like, are you kidding me? And I got to go like this.
I voted. Who'd you vote for?
I don't know.
Well, I was handing out sample ballots again in Aston in November, and so as a Democrat, which was fun again, and so many Republicans would walk up and first of all snarl at me, but then they'd go to the people who were handing out the Republican ballots and tell me like they had no idea who was running, and they would just like tell me who to vote for,
I think
and I'm
that's
just
another
like,
thing that our leaders have to do a better job on, to educate the voters.
yeah, and they're like, well, I'm just going to assume that they're good because they're Republicans. The
Especially
things I
in
heard
midterms.
all day.
I mean, we don't even
Don't
know
you want to just like
half of the people
vomit
that are
when
running.
you hear
It's
stuff
so
like that?
bad. And well, now I'm in the minority election inspector for my town, so now I'm working inside for the election. So this election just passed was my first one. So the November one's going to be ridiculous, I'm sure.
It's going to be, yeah. Well, we got some problems even within our own party right now. With some of the people that we did fight for to get on the ballot and fight for to elect. So guess what? They didn't do what they needed to do. We got to unelect them.
Well,
We
that's
got to
gonna
get
work
them out.
itself out. I know that.
We know that that's going to work itself out, but it's got to work itself out fast.
We know it's going to work itself out
Okay.
fast, James. Right?
Yes, we do.
We know that. We got that covered.
You know, I love the county council. I don't love everything they do, but I think they do it with pure intent most of the time. I'll give them that. I know personally two of them.
I had a fight with them, my son's special needs, and I had a fight when they were on the school board.
And we went toe to toe. Believe me when I tell you.
And we have every damn right.
I had every right to do it, and I did.
They make
and
you feel like you don't, you do.
They
work
remembered
for
me,
us. We
and
do not work
now
for
we're
them.
good. Now we're
People
good.
forget
So
that.
we can put that stuff aside, and we can work on real issues. And right now, that's what we're doing. For special needs people, people who need services, we don't have them, and we need to get them.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Well, I'm a fighter, and I will fight for you guys. So I want you to. This isn't a shameless plug, seriously. Ridley Township page, the unbiased one. Please follow my page. You'll see what I'm all about.
It's kind of funny.
I am a loudmouth. I call
strong
out. You know,
He'll
a
call them
crooked
out.
official. I don't care what party they're in. I'll fight for you guys. I got your back. I really do. I care about my community. I'm passionate about what I do, which is just this. I ran for local office. I lost, and I'll probably never run again. I don't care about a title. I don't care about money or power. But I'm a loudmouth. You guys have anything
That's
you
why
want
you
to
didn't
talk
win.
about? No, it's because Ridley's 100% Republican and they hated me. But anyway, just the point is that you know, I'm very, very passionate.